大家好，我是 Shang Guan Jie Wen. I want to talk to you today about dinner etiquette and the differences between the way we consume food, high class and middle class, and in people's homes in America and China. The first thing to note is that America is not in any way one culture. It's a blend of many, many, many cultures over a very long period of time. So sometimes you'll see things in movies or on TV about a way people in America eat, which are not necessarily representative of the way that most people consume food. All right, so the first thing to obviously note is the shape of the table. That's the first thing everyone notes, and I think this is really commonly understood by everyone. In the West, tables are almost always rectangular, and the head of the table is at the end of the table, and the other end of the table, but usually one end specifically. Whereas in China, there's a lot of round tables for formal dining, and the seat for the head of the table is the seat looking at the door from away from the door, the furthest from the door, with descending order of people that are of value and important. I've heard that in Taiwan, the person at the bottom of the table pays, but I've seen mostly the person sitting to the right of the person at the head of the table pay in Beijing. And then the second thing to note, and this is another thing, is food sharing. So in the West, if you are in your house with your family and guests, you'll share things at the table. But as soon as you go to any kind of restaurant, even a fast food restaurant like McDonald's, or like a proper restaurant where it's even formal, no more sharing. Sharing pretty much ends, and everyone orders exactly what they want for themselves, and it's unusual to have people share things off of their plate. Maybe husbands and wives who have been married for 20 or 30 or 40 years will share, but people typically won't do that elsewhere. And that's the exact opposite of the way it is in China. And this actually shocks a lot of foreigners. You go to even a small dining or formal dining, and you have the circular table or a square table in a small restaurant in China, and people are going to order 5 or 6 dishes for 2 or 3 people, and they're going to share almost everything. You'll maybe have a small bowl for your own rice or your own noodles, but everything else is completely shared. And it's unusual, as foreigners, when we first arrive here, we'll say, okay, well, I want that. And then we'll order it. And when it comes to the table, people will start eating it. And this is confusing, because foreigners don't expect that. Foreigners expect that, okay, I ordered this chicken dish or whatever, and I'm going to eat it. But as soon as it comes to the table, people are eating it. Westerners are perturbed and confused, and it takes them at least a few weeks to overcome that cultural difference. But this is something that's extremely common here in China, and once you get used to it, it's actually really nice because you get a variety of things instead of eating one thing. All right, then who's sitting at the head of the table? That's an interesting question. In the West, the person sitting at the head of the table is probably the person paying, the person providing, the person who is actually taking care of all of the other guests, the host oftentimes. But that is not true in China. The person who's sitting at the head of the table is usually the oldest or most honored guest, the most successful person, for example. So the person paying is not the same person as the person sitting at the head of the table. So that's obviously a huge difference. Another huge difference, and this is based on the same thing about who is oldest, who is most successful, is where you clink your glasses. I'm 43 years old, and a lot of my friends are older than me, so I should clink my glass lower than them. Or if we're roughly the same age, but they're much more successful, or I'm much more successful, it will change who's clinking their glass where. In the West, this doesn't exist. You're going to clink your glasses? You clink your glasses. No one's looking where they're clinking glasses. They just want the glasses to make a clink sound, and hey, success. We're enjoying things together. Another thing is, when 2 different people want to show the other person a great deal more respect, they will lower their glass continuously all the way to the floor, and when they get to the floor, they will finally try to clink as evenly as possible, both of them saying, I also am trying to give you honor, esteem, and respect. A lot of foreigners can't use chopsticks, and this one's an obvious one. I feel embarrassed. I've been living in China, or I've been living in Asia for more than 10 years. Every time where I go sit down, no matter what I order, people give me a fork, which I feel is embarrassing because I can use chopsticks. But I think they do that because so many foreigners come over here and can't or never learn. Finally, the last thing to consider is paying the bill. And of course, everyone knows about this. In the West, if I say, I'm going to pay the bill, people will be like, oh, okay, thank you, and walk away. Yay, someone else paid the bill, which is not common. We have a term called Dutch treat, which means we all go to the restaurant, we divide up the bill every single time, and everyone pays for just what they ordered. And I still do that sometimes when I'm eating exclusively with just foreigners here. Now, this is obviously quite different from the Chinese style of, oh, let's fight over the bill. I'll pay the bill. Oh, no, I'll pay the bill. Oh, no, I'll pay the bill. And they have to go a few rounds before finally someone forcibly pays the bill, which then kind of creates an indebtedness. So next time I invite you out, we both have to fight, but I have to win if you paid the bill last time. And so keeping everyone, inviting everyone out, and it's a very nice social etiquette kind of thing to do. But again, this is a difference between Chinese culture and American culture. So clearly there are a lot of differences that throw foreigners through a loop. In last video, we talked about running foreigners who run. So obviously sharing food is something that's going to throw some foreigners through a loop, which means to say confuse them and culturally shock them, because that's not something that they're used to doing outside of maybe inside their home with their own family or something like Thanksgiving. So only on special occasions. So coming here and then ordering food and then sharing it with other people is something that is a major cultural difference. It may seem subtle and small to me or you or a lot of people, but to some people, it's enough to make them decide to run home. Okay, we're going to see you next time. Bye-bye.